So today's episode is actually the introduction to my new audio course on healing the narcissistic mother wound. I've poured my heart and soul into this for you. If you are someone that struggles with a dysfunctional relationship with your mother, if you are someone that feels this void and feels this lack of fulfillment in your relationships today, then I really recommend that you take this course, because what I share in this course is the exact steps that I've taken and the wisdom that I've gained to go from carrying so much emotional pain and baggage, not being able to have healthy relationships, just having a pattern of dysfunctional relationships and having people walk all over me and not having boundaries, to today where I have the most amazing relationships. I've been married for over 5 years to my amazing husband. I'm a mother myself now to my daughter, and there's no trace left of that wound in my relationship with my daughter, and I'm so grateful for that. So I want to share everything in this course with you because it is so transformative. And so I hope you enjoy the intro. If you want to know more about the course, the details will be linked in the description, and you can always reach out to me inside of my community, the Mighty Emotions community, just by heading to mightyemotions.com. Connect with me as you move through the course. You're free to reach out to me and ask questions, and I'm here to support you as much as possible. So enjoy the episode, and I will see you next time. Welcome to another episode. I am so glad that you are here and listening. I have been thinking of recording this episode for quite some time now, and I really want to dive into this topic because I'm seeing it everywhere. And to me, that's always a sign that I need to share about it, because it's something that I go through. It's something that we all go through, is this feeling of not being good enough. Let me rephrase that because I know better. Not the feeling of not being good enough, the belief that we're somehow not good enough that leads us to feeling certain things. So, you know that in my work, especially if you've been listening to a few episodes now, but if you're new, hi, I'm an emotions coach. And the work that I do is teaching you how to understand your emotions, how to understand your feelings, and how to work with them, right? Because they are your key to happiness and fulfillment. They are your key to prosperity. And there's a really backwards view of them in our society today that it is my mission to eliminate, right? There are no negative emotions. There are no negative feelings. There are only emotions that are existing to serve us, to bring our attention to when we are misaligned, to bring our awareness to when our needs are not getting met, when we're not being satisfied, because that is the key to us prospering, and that is the key to us living good lives. And there are many different names for feelings, but there are really only two feelings: ease and unease. And a lot of us know what it's like to feel unease, but we aren't familiar with ease as much. And so, by learning how to work with these emotional signals, to work with these feelings, we're able to experience more ease in our life because our needs are met. We're living in alignment. We're honoring and trusting that innate wisdom that's within us. That's what this work is all about, is learning how to connect to yourself and learning how to trust yourself. And that is what leads us to feeling better. It's not just finding temporary relief from emotional pain. And so, what causes a lot of unease, a lot of feelings of dis-ease, are these beliefs that we have. And I've talked in previous episodes about the fact that our thoughts don't come from nowhere. They don't come from out of the blue. They come from the past. They come from information that we've collected. It's just information that we've gathered that we have used to generate these thoughts. And any of the thoughts that we agree to become our beliefs. And that is what drives our results or our behaviors. And so the thought that I am not good enough is one that is really common. And it's interesting that it's so common, right? You would think that we would understand it more, but my experience diving into these thoughts of I'm not good enough and not knowing why I can't shake this thought. Like, I do all this work on myself and I do all this self-reflection and I become so self-aware, and they're all the work that we learn about reprogramming our mind and choosing new thoughts and making better decisions with our thoughts, all of that really is suggesting that we just choose a new thought. We just think differently. We just think the opposite, and it will eliminate the thought that we're not good enough. And that will, produce the results that we want in our lives. My experience has been that that is not the case because our minds are really good at assessing bullshit. Like our minds are really good at agreeing and disagreeing with the thoughts that we come across. So like I said, your thoughts become the thoughts that you agree to become your beliefs. So you can tell yourself whatever thoughts you want. But unless there's something within you that goes, yes, that is truth for you, that is real for you, it's not going to produce the results that we want. And it starts this kind of internal battle with ourselves where we're trying to persuade ourselves or convince ourselves to believe something that we don't believe. And that friction, that internal tension leads to more unease. It leads to more discomfort, that resistance, right? Even if we can acknowledge honestly and say, yeah, I think this. Yeah, I see this. Yeah, I want to change this. How do we actually change it? So, in the work that I do, the method that I use with my clients and with myself every day in my life is the Mighty Emotions method, where we allow our bodies to regulate before we try to do the mental work. Because if we're really dysregulated in our bodies physically, if we're not letting that emotional energy flow throughout us and circulate, it's going to be really difficult to get to the mind work, to get to the clearing of the mind. The only way to get out of your mind is to get into your body or into your present environment. Like sometimes people struggle with getting into their bodies, and I totally get it if you have been disassociating for a really long time. So there's no judgment. Sometimes even I struggle with certain things if it's really, really deep rooted things. And so get into your present environment, get super present, like notice the details in every little thing around you, every sound, every color, every scent, like just engage your senses. That's the equivalent of getting into your body, right? It's just about getting out of the way. The mind wants to control everything. It's about stepping away for a bit, getting really present and grounded and regulating so that you can think more clearly. And once you do that, we go into the mind work, which is the reprogramming. So this is where we notice, okay, here's this thought that isn't serving me. I need to choose a new thought. But here's what's missing. Here's the nuance that's often missing. Our mind needs specificity for it to be really effective. Like we can do a lot of work with vague thoughts, but the more specific we can get about anything, the more precise we can get, the more clarity we can get, that's when we're able to see really amazing results. So in this case of I feel like I'm not good enough, I think that I'm not good enough. What I found in uprooting this and reconditioning is that that is too vague of a thought. That's not actually what your subconscious is thinking. You're not subconsciously thinking I'm not good enough. There's so many things underneath that. And it's until we get to those individual thoughts that build up to that I'm not good enough thought, and we start dismantling it one by one, that is when we can give our mind new thoughts that it will agree to. So, what do I mean by this? If I say I'm not good enough, my advice is always to choose the opposite of the thought, right? Because that's a different reality. That's a new way of seeing it. That's the easiest way to get from point A to point B. So the opposite of I'm not good enough is I am good enough. Now your mind is going to go, no. Where's the evidence of that? That's too broad. That's too vague. That's not giving your mind something it can go yes or no to, because it's huge. I am good enough. Good enough at what? There's so many unanswered questions. But when I was doing my own work, I realized that I had thoughts like, I'm not important. I'm not significant. I'm repulsive. Those are really specific. Do you see the difference? Because now I can choose opposite thoughts like, I'm not repulsive. I'm delightful. I'm not insignificant. I'm significant. I'm important. I matter. And I can find the evidence that supports that because there are people in my life to whom I matter. And there are circumstances where I can look back and say, I was delightful. I felt delightful. These people told me I was delightful, right? But it requires that we get really specific to what's underneath that thought of I'm not good enough, because that thought is not clear enough for you to really reprogram it. So I want you to think about that. Think about if you were to break down that I'm not good enough, if you were to say at what, with who, about what, if you were to think about the specific past memory where you developed that thought, right? Because all of our thoughts come from the past. So when you develop that thought, I'm not good enough, what is the memory that comes to mind? What is the situation? And how can you get more specific about what that thought is really saying? And when you can get really specific on that, what that thought is really saying about what you decided in that moment meant you're not good enough, then you can choose the thought that your mind will go, okay, I can agree to that. So, hypothetical example, if you were standing in the kitchen with your mom one day and you were really excited to tell her about this idea that you had, and she was just like, I have no time for that. I don't want to hear that idea. I'm not interested. Then, as your childlike mind, you develop the thought of, I'm not interesting. Nobody wants to hear what I will have to say. And that gets stored in your subconscious because your brain goes, I agree to that because I have evidence that points to that. Okay. You move through your life with that in your subconscious. And then as an adult, you find yourself not feeling comfortable saying what you want to say, always feeling like you're not really communicating and articulating yourself well, feeling like people aren't really interested in what you have to say. And the thought that comes to mind is, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough to do this presentation. I'm not good enough to do this thing. And so trying to say, well, I am good enough is again, at what? Not specific. But if you go back to that scenario and you go, oh, I decided because of that specific incident that I wasn't interesting or that people didn't want to hear what I have to say. Then it doesn't become I'm not good enough. It becomes I'm not interesting. And you can choose that I am interesting. The woman I am today in the present moment and the woman that I'm becoming, the woman that I'm allowing myself to become or the person that I'm allowing myself to become is interesting. That was then. That was that specific experience. I can process that. I can integrate. I can resolve and I can move forward. So if we want to if we want to overcome those thoughts of I'm not good enough, we have to dig deeper. We have to get clearer. We have to get more specific. That is what is going to have us profoundly and effectively and quickly shift to a new paradigm. That's what's going to quickly shift us into this new way of looking at the world, a new way of seeing ourselves, a new way of interpreting things. It's going to get rid of that I'm not good enough bullshit. And I never swear on this on this show, but it's a lie. It is a lie that you're not good enough. And there's so much more specificity underneath there. And the more you get clear about that, the easier it becomes to rewire, to choose new thoughts. Because if you say, I'm interesting, like in the hypothetical example that I gave, your brain can find evidence of that. I'm sure your brain can find evidence of times when you've been interesting to somebody or you felt like you were interesting to somebody. There's always these seeds and these nuggets planted in our past. And when our brain can find evidence of it, it will agree to it. But if it's too vague, if it's like confusing to our mind, we're not going to be able to move past it and overcome it. So look at the past, look at the specific incident where you made that decision that you weren't good enough. Decide, what is it actually that I was saying here? What was the specific thing that I was describing here? And then choose the new one, find the new evidence, agree to that thought. It becomes your new belief, and that changes how you act moving forward. It's mindset and it's physiologically. Remember, if it's too dysregulating, if you're too uncomfortable I can't speak, physically, if you're too uncomfortable physically, then regulating, getting into your body, getting into your environment, grounding yourself first is going to help you see with more clarity what that specific incident is. But if you're resisting the discomfort that's naturally going to come when we're reflecting on a painful experience, and you're not allowing your body to do its magic and to work for you, then your brain is gonna continue to be foggy and vague and lack clarity, and it's gonna make it difficult to choose the real thought that you need to move forward. More specific, more clear, more grounded. Right? And that is why I created the Mighty Emotions method, because I realized that I was trying to get my mind to do things and my body wasn't on board, and I needed to get them to work together. I needed them to come together. And I needed the body to settle first so that the mind could be clear. And the way that the body was able to settle was through the regulation, but also through recognizing, okay, what's the signal of what I need here? And what are the thoughts creating the unease? And putting that information together to then produce a new way of seeing the world, a new way of taking care of myself. It's really, really powerful work. It's really powerful work. It's saved my life. It's changed my life. It's transformed the life of my clients. I'm really grateful that I get to help people with that. And I hope that the things I share on this podcast helps you in some way, opens your perspective, teaches you something new that you can apply tangibly to your life so that you can get amazing results. And if you want ongoing support, if you want one-on-one support, if you want to know how I can specifically work with you for whatever the issues that's going on in your life right now, maybe it's a specific issue, maybe it's something you've been stuck with for a while, maybe you're struggling to get to that clarity and you need me to walk you through the steps and help you unpack it and look at it in a way that's empowering and teach you why it's not that scary. It's just the lack of understanding of it that makes it seem scary. But once you get familiar with it in this way, you're like, oh, it is such a relief to have these emotions and these feelings and know how to work with them. That is what I help you do. So reach out to me, email me at mightyemotions.com, say looking for one-on-one session or whatever the case may be. I'm taking people on a case-by-case basis right now. Not that there's like an application process, but I'm just mindful that I want to make sure we're a good fit so we can have a consultation and can get some more information. And I'd be more than honored to support you and help you and work with you and give you these tools so that you could take it and keep using it in your life and watch your life just get better and better and better. Because that is my mission in this world, is to help you prosper. You deserve it. You may not have been given these tools before, but you're here now and you're learning now. And the future is a blank slate that is only going to get better. So with that, I'm grateful to have recorded another episode for you. I hope that you took something meaningful away from this today, and I will speak to you in the next episode. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. It would mean so much if you could subscribe, leave a review, share with your friends and family, and let me know what you think by going to my Instagram at mighty_emotions and connecting with me and letting me know what you loved about today's episode. It really means a lot that you support this podcast, and I love coming to you each week with a new episode. So be sure to subscribe, let me know what you think, and take care of yourself.